Welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a best of 3 series from the GSL Code S, the round of 8 of that premier tournament, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Gresvan. Now this is a series between two players that are running very hot right now. So first off, in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing with the blue Terran pieces, we're looking inside of the main base of Kijkwijzer. And his opponent in the opposite corner with the red Zerg drones, he goes by the name of Dark. I've been casting both of these players a lot. Now they're facing against each other. This should be a very interesting match. Alrighty, so Kijkwijzer once again opening up with this very Korean-esque style. I see basically all of the Koreans do this build over and over and over again. I've talked about it at length. Basically, it's a triple Reaper opener where you transition towards a Marine-based attack on the back of it, and it's difficult for Zerg to figure out exactly what they're playing against. So it could, for example, be a third barracks right now in the main base, and it could be a mass Reaper play. It can be a bunch of additional barracks after the Reaper aggression is settled, or it can be a really quick third CC. There's a bunch of variety when it comes to this particular Terran opener, and for Zerg, it essentially is always a guessing game. Now, recently, I casted a bunch of games of Dark playing against this exact build, and he basically stopped making any workers at 43, and he just started making non-stop Zerglings. So 43 drones is what he was settled on. Now, of course, this series, I mean, as of me casting it at least, it was played, I think, like 2 days ago, something like that. By the time this video is actually up on the YouTube channel, it's probably a little bit older than that, but it doesn't really matter all too much. There's a chance that he's been developing his strategies a little bit more since then. It's actually going straight 6 Zerglings here. A lot of the Koreans like to do that. I wonder if this is also, though, because of a lot of the Koreans now opting to go for this particular start, and rather than actually harassing the natural, Kijkwijzer has decided to go after the third hatch. Now, in order to go for such a quick third hatchery here, Zerg actually needs to commit to delaying the metabolic boost upgrade. So normally this is a pivotal upgrade. It's actually going to be a little bit tricky right here for Dark to, hold on to everything. So the Reapers are going to join up together over here at the third. Zerglings are thinking about, counterattacking, but okay. There's no way they're going to be able to get the kill on this third base, though, will they? I actually don't really know. A lot of the Zerg players, maybe they will, honestly. A lot of the Zerg players at this level of play, when they go up against triple Reaper openers nowadays, they actually rush out the Zergling speed upgrade and then they take a third. But then you have to sneak out a drone to actually build the third base with. I think the 2 queens here will make this okay. But this is not without a cost. Yeah, one of the queens already taken a lot of damage. And of course, these two, well, ladies here, they've got a lot of energy now saved up. They should really be using their injects, and they should really be putting down the creep tumors. Now they're going to be able to get the Reapers, that is, one of the creep tumors too. I really like this start right here from Kijkwijzer. Even though I'm not 100% sold that this is... He even gets the Overlord as well on the other side of the map. I'm really not 100% sold that this is like the strongest Terran opener right now. It's a fun strategy to see in the current meta of the game. So this particular variation here for Kijkwijzer is just triple Reaper into very quick triple command center. Now into double upgrades as well. We've got the Stimpak upgrade researching here. This is a flying start right here for Kijkwijzer. Now, at this point, the supply count can be a little bit deceiving. That's because Kijkwijzer has been putting all of his money into infrastructure and not really into units. And obviously, buildings don't cost any supply. But this is all super greedy. Now, finally, the factory comes down. There's not going to be any medevacs or anything like that coming up anytime soon, but if he decides to fire up the combat shield upgrade in the same tech lab after the Stimpak is done, I can imagine that he will be able to line that particular upgrade up with these two over here. At the very least, it's all going to be pretty close together. Now, what does Dark decide to do? He's actually making a Baneling nest here. Okay, Dark may actually just be done. Yeah. I'm talking about some mid-game strategies here and how it's going to be amazing for the Terran player once he gets there. Dark is now sitting at 47 workers, and he's making mass Zergling. So it's a little bit more than, well, we've seen him do in the past, in the previous few casts that I've done. The Baneling nest and the lair here are not entirely in sync, so I've got a feeling this may just be a Baneling bust. Although that would be a little bit insane. The Reapers are still around. Stimpak at this point is done, but it's Dark, and I've mentioned it many times, the man can basically do whatever he likes. Okay, so he's done making links right now and he goes back to droning, but now we're in this awkward position where Zerg has got all of these links. He would have been ready to deal with a, well, Stimpak attack, right? If Kijkwijzer decided to go across the map right now, he would have been ready. Problem is, Cure decided to play like a very greedy boy, and he's got double upgrades coming. He's got the third CC done. He is ready to go and just play a macro game from here. I think that Dark may have been hoping, crossing his fingers, that his opponent was gonna go for an attack, well, one we see most of the time with the Stimpack upgrade finishing up, and he would have been in a great spot against that, but right now, I am really not too sure. Look at that though, 4 additional barracks coming up, +2/+2 at the 6-minute mark. That is very quick. If he wants to, he can go for an attack, Cure that is, but I really don't see why. Like, he can just sit back here, maybe load up a bunch of medevacs, right? That is an option, and maybe do some harassment, something along those lines. There's no Stimpaks or anything like that, or sorry, no Widow Mines or you know, Siege Tanks or anything like that, so no splash damage here. That might be a little bit of a problem, but look at the 2-2 timing. +2/+2 at the same time as Zerg starts up 1-1. Now is Dark in a horrible position? Nah, not quite. He's actually going Spire here, so Mutiling Bane is going to be the name of the game here. He does have a 4th base coming up here, but this game is certainly Cure in the driver's seat. That said though, this is still Dark we're talking about. One of the absolute scariest mid and late game Zerg players ever. I always feel like his early game can be a little bit all over the place. He's flipping a bunch of coins in the early game, and he just hopes he gets the, you know, the right toss. But yeah, the mid game and the late game, he is incredibly terrifying. And obviously in the early game, he's definitely no slouch either. He just plays a little bit crazy sometimes. And this time around, his gamble did not pay off. And even though he'll Cure, yeah, he's been behind in that supply count basically the entire game long. You can see right now he's starting to creep ahead, and I really would not mind seeing a move out as soon as 2-2 is done. It's gonna be a little bit after the Spire. Now we all know that mutas are amazing. Okay, there was a little bit of a attempted Baneling roll by apparently, but there's really no way that, well, 3 Banes are gonna achieve much of anything. Maybe there were a couple more, but anyways. Mutas are great at harassing, but I think if he decides to go for a move out right about right now, if he decides to just send everything across the map, he's gonna get there as the mutas are just about to pop. Okay, looks like he's actually sitting back for a little bit though. Is he just gonna go? Okay, no. Alright, I was wondering if maybe he was just gonna go straight into the 3-3 research too. I think he's a little afraid of getting surrounded in the middle of the map. He really wants to make sure that those upgrades are done. So this is an insane setup though. The fact that Zerg is finishing up 1-1 as Terran is finishing 2-2 is a major advantage here for Cure. Yeah, and this shows you once again the flexibility of that opener. I may not necessarily be the biggest fan of the Triple Reaper start, but Zerg is playing a lot of guessing games, and that is where this build is so powerful. Yeah, this is not the fight you want to be taking either here. One thing that Dark does have is those mutas. So there's not a whole lot of defense available right now at home for Cure to deal with that, other than some reinforcing Marines. Excellent splits though here by our Terran player. My god, monstrous control right there coming out of Cure. Just trying to make sure the Marauders stay in front, trying to make sure that they tank as many of those Baneling hits as possible as he's just plowing his way through this. In the meantime, 9 SCVs did go down. There's not really that much available, I suppose, for the Terran player to defend this, but I mean, it's again, Dark crossing his fingers, right? And this time around, he did not find bases with missile turrets, but it could have been a bunch of missile turrets just sitting there. That would have been an absolute disaster for him. Still don't think, though, it's particularly great. Yes, he's killing a lot of Terran economy, but he needs to address his army. He needs to kill this army, and assuming the Banelings do not just walk into all of those Marines for free, I mean, that is a lot of Banelings, yeah, it's not gonna happen. Cure gets a very well played game number 1. Royal Blood is gonna be game number 2 in this best of 3 series. Now, we've got ourselves a double barracks opener once again. I decided to fast forward through the first, well, about 2 minutes or so of this game. It's once again gonna be the exact same start right here of Cure, but the question is it gonna be the exact same follow-up as well? Once more though, Dark has decided to pull the drones out of gas a little early to grab that 3rd base nice and quick. That is gonna allow him to take the 3rd, yes. But again, if the Reapers decide to start harassing it, the Queens will probably be forced off creep, and I honestly really did not like that start there for Dark whatsoever. I really think rushing out the link speed here may be a little bit safer, but anyways, this time around apparently Cure is not gonna be a jerk, at least to the 3rd base. Fair enough. I think he probably should be. I actually quite like that in the previous game. Ooh, That grenade almost helping out the Zerg player there, as it almost allowed Brenda there to be in range of the Reaper. Reaper, though, manages to stay alive. Look at the factory timing this time around. Very different here. And this is honestly the real strength. It's not the triple Reaper, it's the follow-up. And the fact that it's really difficult for Zerg to figure it out. I don't think currently Zerg players really have a one-size-fits-all counter against this sort of thing. There probably is something, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if it's figured out in the next couple months, but because of all of the different follow-ups that Terrans can go for, oof, nice bit of Reaper micro over there too. Anyways, it becomes tricky for the Zerg to figure it out. So this time around, it's a third command center after the factory gets started up. So we'll have to see exactly what... Yeah, we're gonna be producing with this. We're just gonna go into a 2-1-1, I would imagine, right? So this is gonna be the more conventional style. Now the question is Dark, this time around, well, once again, gonna make those Zerglings, right? So is it gonna sit anywhere between, like, you know, mid-40s or so, right? Drone count, maybe like 40 to 50 workers. Is he once again just gonna start making non-stop army as soon as he gets to that drone count? Because this time around, it will be the right play. Now one move, of course, that Zerg players can always do, and it's not really something we see a whole lot in the current meta, but it's the Overlord speed. Oh, well, oh my god. Bro, thank you for making me look so smart, Dark. I appreciate that. I think you could have started a little sooner, but I won't criticize you too much. I have not seen this game, guys. Thank you very much, Dark. I appreciate you, man. Overlord speed is amazing. I think it makes a lot of sense here for Dark to get that upgrade going. But the problem is... Oh, this is actually not the most conventional version of it. It's a tech lab right now with a freaking starport. I mean, we've seen Cure, play this one as well, where Dark's gonna be very ready for a marine-based attack, and then it's not gonna be a marine-based attack with Metavex. Instead, there's a freaking Cloak Banshee that shows up and murders your entire mineral line. Anyways, I think Dark, though, with Pneumatized Carapace, that's the Overlord speed upgrade finishing up. He should be able to get the scout in right now. Go. Otto, go! Otto, you've got wings! Otto, go! Oh, here's Otto. It's a different Otto. Actually, you know what? There's still 3 Marines here on the perimeter. But as soon as Dark sees this, yeah, he sees the Banshee as well as the green light. He knows what he's playing against. And the Overlord is gonna be able to get out. Okay, fires up a lair immediately. One downside, oftentimes, of the Overlord speed opener, right? So you may be wondering, Loko, why don't we see Overlord speed literally every single game? Because you can figure out exactly what you're playing against. In a lot of situations, yes, you can figure out exactly what you're playing against, but then you've invested resources into things that won't actually help you out with the base defense. So you've just spent 200 resources on a thing that's going to be fantastic at obtaining information, but it's not going to actually actively help you out defending whatever the aggression actually is going to be. So oftentimes a lot of Zergs will favor the lair blindly instead, because it's about the same price. It's about 50 minerals more expensive. And yeah, it's a lot more, you know, it unlocks a whole lot more options, right? Like if you go for the lair, you can go into an Overseer as well. You can get Baneling speed going, you can get a Spire going, you can punish your opponent. Whereas with the Pneumatized Carapace upgrade, yeah, you just figure it out and then you have to react from a little bit behind. But hey, if these openers, yeah, stay as prevalent as they are, it may very well be the answer. Alright, Cloak Banshee, coming in. Yeah, we've seen Zerg players get very caught off guard against this, though, because this time around he gets scouted perfectly, and Cure is not going to get much value out of those ladies here. Yeah, those Banshees are not going to be able to get much done. Okay. Ooh, a little bit of a Baneling drop alert. Ooh, double Baneling drop alert. Let's go. All right. So you can fit 4 Banes in each of these. That's a cute play. Okay. So obviously you don't need Baneling speed for that. They will fly just as fast because of the Overlord speed. And this is a little bit of a move that I don't think Cure has too much experience with. Are we gonna go and drop Banelings into the opponent's mineral line at 2 locations at once? I think so, yep. So he's queued him up over here. He's queued him up over here as well, I would imagine. Okay. This might be right around the time that Cure is paying attention to other things as he's ready to micro on the other side of the map. Cure not used to Zerg drops, and that is a play right over here. Well, when's the last time you've seen that? 16 SCVs have gone down. Banshee's in the bottom right-hand corner, not getting a whole lot of value in. This used to be quite a common build against Protoss back in, like, 2012? Grandpa Loco back in action here, literally more than a decade ago. We did see like a carpet bomb style, where you would load mass bailing into drop alerts and you would just drop them right on top of all of their zealots. This was before players figured out, hey, I can split my units, I don't have to move around in one big ball, that's absurd. Anyways, we're gonna now follow this up with a Zergling drop as well. The hatchery here, of course, at this point is gone, and while Dark does have a nice economy advantage, he doesn't necessarily, you know, have a dominating lead at this point in the game. He's still gonna have to address this army. Hydralisk Den here is nice and all. We've got a Zergling drop over here as well. I really like this actually here from Dark. Obviously though, Cure should have never taken that much damage from the bailing drops. He just was not paying attention to the minimap. Like, Zerg players will be glancing at the minimap every time they have the option to, right? Like, all game long, they will be glancing at the minimap. Like, you know, like kind of like those animals that can move their eyes independently. That's what Zerg players do, okay? Cure doesn't have that much experience playing against the drops. I missed that one. I'm gonna go ahead and just back off a little bit. Oh, they just walked in. Okay, well, not really walking, I guess. They just roly-polied their way in. Yeah. A lot of that, of course, has to do with the fact that, well, Terran actually has to pay attention to their armies. Whereas Zerg players don't really have to micro that much. So they have a little bit more attention available. So Cure very busy here, microing on the other side of the map. Bunch of bailings roll in. Cure really focused on getting that move out done. Bunch of bailing drops come in. You can only spend your attention in so many locations at once, and Dark pulled a sneaky one right there on his opponent. Okay. So are we going to be able to close out the game from here? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. He's got 79 workers, which is nice and all. Gonna remake that base over there, sure. Can he really drive this win home right now? I don't know. He's at a lead, but I don't really see how he's gonna be able to win the game from here. At least not in the near future, I mean. So he's got himself an advantage, but really that's about it. Hatchery once again gets cancelled here. This drop super annoying. Nicely done by Cure. Trying to stay alive, and going into the 4th command center right now is also a good indicator that he's not feeling too bad. This is not really a desperation 4th, I don't think. He was even expecting a hatchery over here, but he does not see it. He expected it to be either over here or over there. Turns out it's just a base over here on the left side for Dark, so yeah, the position here for Cure is a lot more playable than he probably realized as well. With the 4th CC, he's going to be able to go into, well, additional barracks production, but of course also the lovely Ghost. And Dark definitely is afraid of ghosts. He checks under his bed every night. Not his favorite unit to play against, but still, of course, an absolute late game monster. Okay. Triple Evo. We're gonna be upgrading all 3 things at the same time here. Cure, though, basically maxed out now. He's finished up the 2-2 research. He's once again pulled back home here to try and deal with these Zerglings and Banelings, but he was making himself up for an attack. Alright, 31 SCVs return, as I think some of them, that's a changeling. Some of them are ready to head on over towards the 4th base location. Burrow coming up, +2, +3, +1, a little bit of everything, adrenal glands. Yeah, so Dark's actually not transitioning towards a late game army here. Again, mostly because of the Ghost, right? Like, he wants to go Ultras, he wants to go Lurkers, he wants to go Brute Lords. He would love to make all of them, but just the potential, right? Just the threat of the Ghost existence makes it difficult for him to make that call, as he does decide to collapse on top of all of this. Those siege tanks were not quite sieged up yet, and many of them, all of them, will end up going down here, other than this bad boy that came in, I think, at the tail end of that fight. He's gonna have to now deal with the Terran counterattack, but only a single siege tank here at the bottom of this area is not really that scary. Vipers right now coming up, those are of course fantastic at shutting down a lot of these Terran units. But +3/+3 is chugging along here for Cure. Hatchery here over at the Golden Minerals will be acquired very soon. Could spread some more tumors. I'm trying to help him out here, but not gonna happen. Okay. Second siege tank has shown up, and this is dangerous, man. These siege tank locations, like a lot of players are calling the current map pool in StarCraft 2 a Terran map pool. These siege tank spots over here are a great example as to why that is. This map definitely not the worst for Terran. We can definitely leave it at that. It's also not the best one, I would say. It's still pretty good, though. Anyways. Yeah, maps like Ancient System, for example, are considered to be quite good for Zerg, but in a best of 3, that map will always be vetoed. Parasitic Bomb right there on one of the medevacs. Good split off right there from Cure. Blinding Cloud on one of the siege tanks. Excellent splits, of course, by Cure as well, trying to keep those units around. We do have the Hydras very exposed, and my god, Cure is so good in those battles. Now the Ghost Academy starts up. 5th Command Center too. Yeah, even though he was in a pretty dire scenario economically, he once again just clawed his way back into this game. And honestly, I think I prefer his position right now over Dark's. It's just Hydra running Bane here for Dark, right? I mean, these Link counterattacks are fantastic though. Yeah, there's gonna be quite a few units that are needed here. At the same time, that push is still ongoing. Dark's playing Hydraling Bane. Ooh, he does get the Command Center. That's a bit sloppy. Dark's playing Hydraling Bane off of 76 workers. I don't really like that. I think he really should be sitting at like 80 to 90 workers. Sometimes even 100. We see players going all the way up to triple digits. These Blinding Clouds are really nice though. Banelings are rolling into the siege tank, not quite optimal. One of them still stays alive. Okay, this counterattack is dealing way more damage than it ever should have. Reinforcing Terran units should have dealt with that ages ago, and that medevac, that Command Center obviously should have flown up into the air. I think Cure is trying to win the game right now with this army that he's got. Yeah, +3/+3 is done here, which is fantastic, but he still has a lot of creep to cover, and Zerg does reproduce real quick. How'd they do it? I don't know, man. Brenda injects the hatchery, suddenly there's cocoons. The real queens right here. Most of the insect that have queens, they only have a single one in a colony, right? I guess the Zergs, I guess there are some animals that will have multiple queens. There's quite a few insects, I'm sure, that have loads of different queens. I was almost concerned that my science fiction video game was unrealistic. that I would not want, okay? That's where I draw the line. What I'm saying is Zerg should only be able to make one queen. Protoss gets the mothership as their hero unit. The Zerg gets their queen. But I'm sure there's many animal species that... yeah, or many insects that will have. Anyways, we're once again gonna try and collapse on top of this. Blinding Cloud right there on a bunch of the siege tanks. Real nice to get those disabled. That said though, Cure can always fall back to the safety of the planetary fortress. Dark playing this very conservatively. You can tell that this is the GSL, right? He does not want to go out. It makes a lot of sense. He's playing this as carefully. She's not. She laughs in the face of danger, but he's playing this as carefully as he possibly can. Okay, so we've had a Ghost Academy here just on the off chance that Zerg felt too ambitious to make a transition. Yeah. I'm a little afraid that this is where ZVT is going to end up if we don't see any changes, to be honest. If we don't see a map pool change or a balance update to the game. I think more and more Zergs will just stick around on the mid-game army. Like, they just do not want to play late game. I don't want to turn this video into a balanced discussion. But it does feel a little silly to me that one potential unit, just the fact that it might be out, shuts down the entire Zerg late game. Not necessarily always, of course. We still see Zerg players making that choice, but it seems like more and more Zergs are just focusing on this instead. Just Hydraling Bane the entire game long. Maybe a Nidus Worm, right? We could see that. Oh, Parabomb here is gonna be killer. Never mind. Good splits right there, although Abduction still helps out. Okay, could have been the end of that medevac a little further north as well, and it might just be if this Viper is gonna be able to accumulate more energy. We're gonna just continue the dropping. So this I do like though, right? So if we're gonna do Hydraling Bane basically the entire game long, I think Burrow, Overlord drops, all of that is really cool. Nidus Worms into the opponent's main base, there's a lot of potential there. If we're forced to play a mid-game army because of the Ghost, having some flexibility in these late game, look at that man, in these late game drops is really cool. Guess we can call this late game now. But yeah, Zerg's really just getting 3-3. Or, sorry, a hive just for 3-3, not for any units. We're gonna once again try and collapse on top of this. Look at the siege tank count though, absolutely massive. We're at 10 siege tanks right now. Marines come running forward, but the Lings and the Hydras, they get on top of the tanks. Once again though, 11 SCVs have gone down, but the drop in the main base has been pushed back. Nice bit of micro right there by Cure. He's also actually dealing with a base over here on the other side of the map. Cure, you're so stupid good at the game, man. I don't know what he's been doing lately, but I feel like he's just... Oh, Queen's on the other side of the mineral line can breach that? I didn't know. Okay. Anyways, he's been getting better and better and better. I don't think that this is gonna be that great right here for Cure, but he certainly has been digging his way out of this hole very nicely, right? Like this basically pivoted in the favor of Dark when he came in with the Baneling drops and they got like, what, 16 SCV kills? I think in a lot of Terran players' minds, that game was over. But Cure's still here. And there were moments where he almost came back, I think. Don't really like this position too much for him right now, though. The problem is he's gonna start bleeding out very soon. So there's a base over here that's blocking this. The Banelings do get spotted. That's nice. Ooh, okay. The Banelings do get spotted. That's real nice. Problem right here. This base is no longer mining. This expansion over here was taken ages ago, so these mineral fields don't have a lot remaining. And this expansion in the center, while nice and all, it's very exposed. So if Dark can just continuously roll in units, he can replenish his mineral lines, right? He can replenish all of the drone's locations. More and more SCVs are going down, and I think this is going to be the nail in the coffin. Excellent play right here by Dark, really lovely. I like the decision making here with the Overlord drops a lot. I think that's really cool. And even though I don't think the Terran really should have taken as much damage as he ended up dealing there, or as he ended up taking, yeah, I think it's still cool to see something like that once again mixed into the game. So we're at 49 SCV kills right here on the left side of your screen. 105 SCVs, well, killed in total. Cure's gonna try and go for one final push. He's got a scary amount of army still, but he's stepping onto the creep. Splitting your units onto the creep is never ideal. GG is cold, and it's Dark who obtains the victory in game number 2. Okay, and that takes us to the map Neo-Humanity. Now, interestingly enough, this is definitely a map where you can once again go for the double Rex at the front. Curious decided to go for a barracks on the high ground instead. Okay. So, Extractor here at home for Dark, after a hatchery first. He's decided to go for a spawning pool too. I actually think I like it better on this map than I do on some of the others, because Zerg doesn't have as many third base options, right? Like, say for example, you go for an SCV scout into a triple Reaper opener, you could just block the third from coming up, which is something that Dark has done in every game right now. At which point he would, I guess, have to start mining out this. It's not an easy map, and apparently the one where I feel like, yeah, Cure really could get a lot of value out of this. The one map that is, he decides to go for the single Rex on the high ground. Okay, so he might have something spicy prepared here, or he's just gonna play the most normal game ever. Because, of course, this is something we've seen, well, ever since probably Legacy of the Void is a safe call. So 2015 is when that game came out. But really, we've seen Reaper openers for a whole lot longer than that. It's just that they were a little bit overpowered back in the early days of StarCraft 2. I actually recently did a couple of games in a Wings of Liberty mod over on my live stream. In case you're unfamiliar, I stream basically every day over at twitch.tv/LowkoTV, although sometimes I'm casting StarCraft 2 tournaments, and I'm actually going on holiday as well at some point in the near future. But anyways, I usually stream most days, and you should probably go follow me over there. I'd appreciate it. That said, I did a Wings of Liberty mod, right? So we played some games in a Wings of Liberty mod, and it turns out that the Reaper, back in the day, was pretty absurd. It was really fast. Like, it had a... For those of you that don't remember, or maybe you didn't watch the game back then, it had a speed improvement in the factory tech lab. Yes, you heard that right. The factory's tech lab had a upgrade for a barracks unit. Plus, and this is like the worst thing of all, we now have that activated grenade ability, right? Fair enough, you can use it to like grow... My god, that's a really quick third command center on location as well. Are you a madman? Fair enough. Anyways, you could go for, well, Reaper grenades still, as they had them when throwing them at buildings. So Reapers had an insane amount of damage output against structures. Like, that game number 1 we just saw, the triple Reapers, they would have 100% killed that third hatchery without any problems whatsoever. For the longest time as well though, and that's a little caveat, you actually needed to have a barracks with a tech lab to be able to make a Reaper. This is one of the units that has gone through literally dozens of changes over the years. Like, even though the unit looks the same, it behaves the same as it did back in 2010 when StarCraft 2 first came out. It is, for all intents and purposes, a entirely different unit, because it was pretty silly for a long time. Ah, yikes. You could probably hear that. I apparently had my phone unmuted for no apparent reason at all. I got one of those spam phone calls. Fantastic. An unknown number that's calling me. I mean, look, first and foremost, I'm probably not gonna answer your call in the first place, okay? Because I'm, you know, I'm hard at work here, okay? I'm a businessman doing business. It's just that my business is playing video games and talking about them aggressively. Anyways, definitely not gonna answer a call from an unknown number. Only maniacs do that. Who's out there answering phone calls from unknown numbers? Seriously, who does that? Maybe there are places where you should go ahead and do so, but this particular number that phoned me started with +44, which is apparently the country code for the UK. I don't know. Why would you be calling me? I don't really care. Anyways, if it's important, they'll probably, you know, it'll probably be, there's no voicemail either. They just want me to call back, don't they? Anyways, definitely I'm not gonna call back. We've got a 1-1 start right here for Dark, a little bit before the lair. So this is a greedy little opener here by Cure, but Dark is trying to get back on him as well when it comes to that greed. At this point, I'm assuming he's figured it out. Yeah, he did see the timing right there of his opponent's third CC. I was talking about Reapers and all kinds of unrelated stuff. He did figure out that his opponent did make a really quick third command center, and that is quite nice for him here, because it allows him to play a little bit greedier too. So rather than going for the lair into the baneling speed, he decided to go for the upgrades into the lair and then eventually baneling speed. So baneling speed is going to be a bit delayed, but with an opener like this, it's not like Cure is going to be able to go for some hyper aggression here anytime soon either, right? With such a quick third CC, he's playing a pretty greedy game himself. Okay, so Stimpack is going to finish up. We are going to see a bunch of medevacs out in the field as well here shortly, I would imagine, as we do not have a reactor coming up here. So maybe we'll see some drop play, maybe we'll see him marching around a little bit, but I thought for a second there was an SCV on the minimap ready to plant down a... Oh, really? Okay, Cure. Cure is a greedy man. Ready to put it all on the line when it matters, right? So again, this is from the most prestigious tournament over in South Korea. Double Cloak Banshee, by the way, over here, getting a little bit of work done, but I think that's gonna be about it. I like the fact that Cure is playing like this. I feel like I remember Cure as a very conservative player who wouldn't really be making plays like this when it mattered. And yeah, you have to take some chances sometimes, man. I think building the fourth command center on location is a little bit overly risky. Like, it really doesn't need to be there. You could just make the flight of shame, right? I think that'd be okay, but apparently that's not what we're gonna do. Anyways, baneling speed has been fired up. +2/+2 will probably start up here pretty soon as well for Dark, and I would not be surprised if we're gonna be seeing okay, an infestation pit right after that. Apparently he's even prioritizing Burrow and the infestation pit, which is interesting. So basically what Cure is doing here is just playing a big macro game. There's the second factory already coming up as well. Combat shields here, +1/+1 research. Armory here at an appropriate time to go straight into 2-2. Cure is basically saying, yo, I might harass you a little bit. I might attack you here and there, but really what I'm doing is just, yeah, sitting back. Now, this is a pretty good map for a split map scenario. Just like Gresvan, we see a lot of long drawn-out macro games on Gresvan lately. This particular map also has a very similar feature there, because, I mean, much like Gresvan, creating a split map scenario is pretty easy for Terran, especially once they get a planetary fortress going over here in the middle. The outer bases are difficult for Zerg to acquire, just in general, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that is maybe what Cure is aiming for here. Now, Dark is, of course, like I said, an absolute late-game monster. There's the Hive coming up, +2/+2 as well. He's got Burrow done, not really getting any value out of it yet. Okay, so how are we gonna play this now, Dark? I'm actually not 100% sure what his best approach is going to be, because yes, he's got a large army, yes, he can deal with this Terran army pretty handily, but he doesn't really need this large of an army, and his economy is actually pretty small as a result to that, right? So he's at 80 workers right now, which is fair enough. But he was sitting at a relatively low worker count for the amount of bases for quite a while. He's got a lot of expansions here taken, and a lot of minerals that could still be mined a little bit more optimally. Okay, so there's the command center in the middle of the map that will soon be placed over here. right? So this is what we call the middle of the map. Even though I guess this would be the middle of the map right over here. It's the middle of the Terran side of the map anyways. Okay. Ultra Cavern, triple Viper. Maybe this is Dark looking at that previous game and he's like, yo, your Ghost Academy or your Ghost production in general was kind of late. So there's a chance I can just suddenly whip out my Ultralisks. Good thing I made it a plural. You can just go ahead and whip out your Ultralisk like that. He might be thinking about it anyways, but... Okay, Queen's coming in with the transfusions, but yeah, that's not going to happen. Ooh, getting the Vipers there would have been amazing. I think he could have actually stuck on the ground for a little bit longer. I don't really like Ultras in these scenarios. I've mentioned it several times before with previous Dark casts. There were even games where he was prioritizing the speed upgrade over chitinous plating, which I felt like that was a mistake, but then he did it again. I was like, okay, Dark, that's weird. This time around, he is getting the armor upgrade first. As soon as Cure sniffs this out, though, if he does a scan in the main base or he just sees it, he could scan any moment right now. Yeah, he can very easily shut this down. I mean, he might just see it over here when he gets into the main base, although this drop over here was very YOLO. Do people still say YOLO? I don't think people say YOLO anymore. This drop is a complete failure. My god, that was horrible right there for Cure, but he's got a lot of money, so I guess he's okay. Yeah. I feel like this one can be pushed back a little bit further, can't it? Anyways, I didn't see the Ultra Cavern, so this is actually the saving grace right here, I think, for Dark, who can just suddenly whip out Ultras, right? As I've already explained earlier. Ghost Academy, though, is coming up. Cure might just make a couple as like a preventive measure, right? Like just to have something ready to go in case it would suddenly be Lurkers or Brute Lords or Vipers or Infestors or Ultras or whatever. Ghosts are pretty good units. He does go straight into the Ghost Cloaking upgrade as well as 3-3 as well. Second, or no, that's the third, no, fourth factory already. Fifth factory coming up. Okay, yeah. So Cure is definitely going to be playing that slower Ghost Mech army. Yep. So that's probably also the reason why he started off the way that he did. I think this style that he's playing right now just transitions a little bit smoother. With the single barracks, I mean. It doesn't really matter that much. He can definitely make this transition as well off of a triple Reaper start, but I can imagine mentally at least this is probably an easier call to make, because this is something that Cure has played for many years. And with many years, I mean one. Anyways, we do have the Planetary Fortress here in a little bit of trouble. Dark does not have the units, though, to really go and kill this. Yeah, I don't know. 13 SCVs end up going down. A lot of Terran units have also died here. But that was really expensive, and we're basically right now on the moment here, where Terran's ready to transition away from the Marines and Marauders anyways, right? Like, he is preparing himself for that late-game army that is not gonna be, yeah, that Marine heavy. He's already started to dump his minerals right now into Hellbats here, rather than Marines. Okay, so there's the Blue Flame research coming up. Now the Ultras are coming too, man. So we're gonna have like 6 Ultras. I would like to see what he decides to do with them. My estimation here is that we're gonna hear pew 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 pew, and that they're gonna be dead. Actually, we don't even need to pew pew pew. The siege tanks do just fine. 11 more SCVs do go down, though. And obviously, one thing that Mr. Dark does have going for him here is there's just a massive amount of map control. He's getting as many bases as he would like. He's taken the outer bases already, but like I covered, he doesn't really have the drone counts to deal with it. And the Cloaked Banshees here. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they were gonna be able to kill that base, but at least they were being a bit of a nuisance. Overlord speed only just now starts up. Hydra Den, Spire. So basically Dark is setting himself up to play a macro game in the late game, right? Like that's what he wants to do. He wants to play a long drawn out macro game himself as well. But that wasn't the original intent. The original intent was to try and win this game before this. He is just hitting his opponent though in as many angles as possible, which is nice. There's the Greater Spire coming up too. I really don't want to sound like a balance whiner, man. I know some of you are gonna take it as this, but like... Pathogen Glands, Infestors, right? Brute Lords, Ultras, Vipers. Ghosts. That's like 6 different units. And like, yeah, he's already got the ghost, so, you know, he'll be okay. I actually think there's just a little bit too much power leaning on the ghost. I wouldn't mind seeing some of that power maybe diverted to, like, I don't know, the Liberator or the Raven or something like that, you know? Because the ghost really is the jack of all trades unit right now. Not just in this matchup, but also against Protoss. It's just so powerful. It's not like Terran really has a lot of great alternatives either, though. Anyways, tactical nuke on the production tab. Very nice. Love to see that. This is where he's gonna start that slow push-ups, right? So he's got a lot of units here, a lot of bases. Yeah, just trying to slowly take control of this. And if Dark wants to fight this, he's gonna have to go through a choke point, which is kind of what he's trying to do right now. I don't think I like this move, though. Yeah, and basically all of these traits are just heavily in favor here of the Terran. You can see that the cost efficiency is just amazing here. And that's what Cure is playing for. It's gonna get better from here too. So like the cost efficiency we're seeing right here, up to this point, it's been pretty great. But unless Dark decides to transition towards Mass Infestor, like we've seen him do a bunch lately, where he goes like 10 plus Infestors, it's gonna be kind of difficult for him to get cost efficient trades. And maybe he can get like Neural Parasites on the Ghosts. Turns out one of the best counters to the Ghost is the Ghost. And that's obviously one trick that Zergs always have up their sleeves. Tactical nuke. Flying across the screen, going for the base in the center. Not really something that Zerg can go ahead and deny, so I think he's gonna have to run instead. Okay, yep. There it comes. Alright. Drones, though, are transferred. And there are a lot of bases taken right now. This could actually be really quite scary for Cure. Because this is considered to be one of the bases that, well, Cure should probably be mining. I wouldn't mind seeing the drones from this base transferred all the way over here, just to try and, like, soak up those minerals before the Terran can really, yeah, even get, well, close to it. Double Liberators being set up. Cure just, yeah, sieging right on top of that. And at this point, I mean, the Brute Lords are out. That's nice and all. But this is gonna trigger the Thor production, right? And maybe a couple more Vikings would not be misplaced either. Liberators are putting in a lot of work. There's the Cloak Banshees from the early game. Maybe in the early game they didn't get much done, but right now they've got 18 combined kills. Just not bad at all. Zerg ended up losing that base over here. He's gonna end up losing this base too. Yeah, he will. And by the time that the Brute Lords finally get into the battle, the Thors are gonna be out. Thor is here. Yeah, okay. Well, Ultras over here with Zerglings are gonna be able to kill this base. Repair, though, is nice, and a couple of ghosts coming in from the snipe, or coming in from the back, and look at that, synchronized dying. Strange new Olympic sport, but anyways. The Ultras, they certainly won the prize. We've seen loads of SCV kills here going down, but I really don't like this for Zerg. I am not a fan of this. Like, yes, he's killed so much, but look at how much he's lost throughout all of this. 9,000-ish more minerals, more than that even. When Terran has lost, well, 16,000 in total. At this point, killing SCVs is nice. Killing command centers is great and all, but Terran's gonna have about a dozen of them to replace, right? So it doesn't really matter that much anymore. We're now at the point where Terran is all powered up. It's like those Dragon Ball Z episodes where, like 4 episodes long, Cure has been shouting, right? His hair turned blonde. He's like, ah, man. Like, he's been shouting for at least 3 episodes. In the previous episode of Cure versus Dark. He's been powering up, man. And he's got all the power of the universe now. He's grown a tail and everything, too. I don't know why the Super Saiyans did that. I never quite understood that, but that's okay. What I'm getting at is that this is an army that looks, okay, yeah, unstoppable. Dark is not gonna give the viewers or Cure the satisfaction of seeing his entire army get destroyed. But it is indeed Cure who obtains the victory 2-1.